Medal of Honor Airborne is a World War II first-person shooter developed by EA Los Angeles, released in late 2007. Hey everybody, Jarek here. For 2020, I decided I'm going to stream and play a lot of games that I genuinely enjoy, and this is one of them. But a lot of people overlooked this game when it came out for multitudes of reasons that I'll get into later. I'll not leave any mystery here. Airborne is a fantastic game that you should play. It's easy to access. You can buy it on Steam for only $10. Currently it's on sale until January 27th for $5, so if you see this video fast enough, you can get it for cheap. The PC port is pretty good. You'll just be able to install the game, change your resolution, and you're off to playing Airborne. Now, I personally changed two things before I played the game. The first one is that I turned off motion blur in an INI file, which is as easy as changing something from true to false. I hate motion blur. There's no reason to have motion blur if you have a steady frame rate. If you don't like the game's depth of field, you can also turn it off in this INI file as well. But the other change I made is that I increased the FOV from default 75 to 90. These are very easy fixes. You don't have to do them, but I would recommend them as they lead to a smoother playing experience. But what about the game itself? I guess we'll start with the plot. Well, it's a World War II shooter, and it follows the cliche of young American hero boys single-handedly saving Europe from comically evil Nazis. Now, typically I wouldn't be a big fan of this because it kind of seems disingenuous to how the Western Front really played out, but this game doesn't take itself too seriously. Let me start by saying the presentation is amazing. The writing is good, the voice acting is good, the art style is cohesive and fits the narrative, the music is amazing. Here I wanted to play some of the soundtrack and have the music playing in the background for this whole video, but part of my Twitch VOD got muted, and if it's in Twitch's system, it's definitely in YouTube's system, so unfortunately I can't do that, but take my word for it, it's really good. At a glance, you would think that this game wants to tell a serious story about the heroes of Europe, but really that's not what it's getting at. I'll show you two cutscenes that will prove that notion wrong.
You Airborne guys sure know how to fight. Care to join us? Fire in the hole! I guarantee you, it'll be a blast. Let's move out!
Why would you turn around and run at a tank?
Oh god! Oh god!
Those sons of bitches!
So yes, as I said, this is a video game that is purely about hero American boys destroying comically evil Nazis. This is a video game for the sake of being a video game. Point being, the story is not necessarily the most serious, but the presentation is so good that I can't help but love it. You play as an American soldier in the 82nd Airborne Division. You're effectively sent on suicide missions, more or less. These missions take place all across Europe, from Italy to the Netherlands to Germany. It'll give you a lot of different places to look at, and not every level looks the same. But as far as the plot goes, that's really it. It doesn't delve into personal issues like who they have back home. It's mostly just focusing on the war at large. This is something you honestly won't notice because the presentation is just so good in this game. You can't help but love what this game is throwing at you. And a very similar thing can be said for the graphics. For 2007, this game actually still looks pretty good. Some things are questionable, like the motion blur I turned off and the depth of field, which gets really annoying when you're trying to snipe, but overall graphically this game does the Unreal Engine proud. Again, this game came out 13 years ago, and it still looks good. Not necessarily mind-blowing or even the best of 2007, but definitely above average. But the major draw to this game is the gameplay. The game will brief you before every mission. This serves three different roles. The first one is to immerse you in your environment. The second one is to allow you to choose your loadout before the mission, which I love. Any game that allows me to choose my guns before I go into the mission gets brownie points for me. Allowing me to choose my guns before going into missions is such a huge advantage to gameplay. I've said this many times before, but in a first-person shooter, your gun is basically your character. Your gun is how you interact with your world, and it will dictate how you play the game. Allowing me to choose different guns makes me change my playstyle. You might gravitate towards one gun that naturally fits your playstyle, but eventually you're going to want to experiment. This adds almost endless replayability. You might think to yourself, man, I really feel like using that trench gun, and you can fire up any mission you want, choose that gun, and go right into the mission. This is a big reason why I still play Rainbow Six Vegas and why a lot of people play every Call of Duty game every year. But the third and arguably most important part of briefing you before every mission is that it shows you a map. This map shows you the safe parts of every level, your objectives, and where you probably don't want to land. Yes, I mean land. At the beginning of every level, you can parachute into that level and choose where you land. It may be on one of the green flares, which is telling you, hey, it's safe here, or you could land on a bunch of Germans and immediately die. In theory, you can fight them all off, but it's going to be a lot more difficult if you land there. The thing is, you have that choice. You can land wherever you want on this map, which is awesome. Now I need you to totally erase your idea behind open world games. I want you to get that negative connotation out of your head, because this game does not play like open world games. Yes, you have the option to drop into this map anywhere you want to, but it plays more like a sandbox rather than, say, a Far Cry game. It doesn't feel like you just have a bunch of chores and you're going down a checklist to get them out of the way. Instead, you land on this map. There are different objectives you can do. These objectives are not too complicated to overload the player. They're usually something as simple as blowing something up, but they force you to a certain direction on the map. These maps are designed in such a way that that section generally has a certain pacing and feel to it. There was clearly a lot of testing on every single one of these maps. It doesn't just feel like an open world shoved in there for you to wander around aimlessly. This is a brilliant approach that I don't think I've ever seen in another game. Developers usually take it the extreme one way or the other. They usually make it entirely linear or fully open world, not in between. And no, Metro Exodus doesn't count. The parts that are open world feel like open world, the parts that are linear feel like pure linear. This is kind of a mixture of both. This is great for both the developer and player. It gives the developer freedom to do what they want on the level, it gives the player freedom to do whatever they want in whatever order on that level. Once you get all these objectives done, you regroup to a certain part of the map, and then this generally starts one last mission that's a little bit more linear to kind of be bombastic. This sort of freedom gives this game almost endless replayability. You can choose any mission you want to, drop in wherever you want to, use whatever guns you want to. It's freedom, but it's constrained into a certain type of fun. And that's great. Again, they designed it in a way that made it not feel 100% linear like the developer was in control the entire time, but they also didn't just let the player wander around aimlessly till they eventually got bored. To add on top of the objectives you already have, the weapons you get can be leveled up 3 different times. If you look in the bottom right of the screen, you can see a silhouette of the weapon that will slowly fill up with blue with every kill you get. Every time the weapon levels up, you'll get some sort of upgrade. This might be a better bolt for your bolt action so you can cycle it faster. This might be dual mags for your STG. This might be a drum mag for your Thompson, and maybe a knife for your MP40. My personal favorite is the straight up full-on M712 conversion for the C96 that turns it fully automatic. I love this upgrade system because the game doesn't force you to play in a specific way. You don't need to get a certain amount of headshots, you don't need to get a certain amount of hipfire kills, you don't need to do a no-scope 360 or some stupid bullshit. It's just get kills with the weapon you want to use, and you make that weapon even better. It gives you something to work towards in-game that will directly help your playstyle. Again, subtly keeping the freedom in the player's hands without making it feel too open and boring or too strict. And the gunplay itself is pretty satisfying. It's not perfect by any means, but the guns generally sound punchy for a game that came out at that time. They feel nice, and the ragdolls are amazing. The ragdolls in this game can sometimes be overboard, over the top, silly, and dumb, but it's just so satisfying. It never gets old sprinting at a Nazi, meleeing him, and watching him go flying 10 feet. I love this sort of ragdoll system. Honestly, I wish something like this was in every game. It's just so satisfying to me, and I don't know why. Anyway, every level you do becomes more difficult than the last, and the difficulty curve doesn't feel too hard or too easy. With one exception. This game is not perfect, and it does have some problems. Just to make everything clear, I love this game. It's a lot of fun, and I'm not saying these problems are huge, and I don't want people to exaggerate them. But it's not a perfect game, and some things can be changed. These are things that don't break the game, but if I knew how to mod the game, I would definitely fix them myself. Let's start with the combat. When you hold down the aim button and press a movement key, your movement key will make you lean instead of walk. If you want to walk, you have to press the sprint button as you're aiming, then you can walk. This is awkward and take some time getting used to. I think it would have been better just to have aim down sights work as normal. You hold down aim and you press the movement keys and you walk, and then if you press sprint at that point you start leaning instead of the other way around. I do like the ability to lean, but most of the time when I was playing this game I was still just holding the sprint button down so I could ADS like normal. The next problem that popped up pretty often while I was playing this game is that when you completely empty the magazine in your gun, it will automatically start reloading, and you can't cancel this reload animation. To make things worse, any input you do while you're reloading is buffered for whenever that reloading animation ends. For example, you empty the magazine in your bar, it automatically starts reloading, you press the pistol button because you want to stop reloading and keep shooting. Instead, you just keep reloading, and then the moment you're done reloading, it pulls the pistol out, taking even longer before you can actually shoot the enemy. Again, not exactly a game-breaking issue, but if you die in this situation, that's really annoying. And speaking of animations you can't cancel, if you're aiming down sights with the Kar 98 and you shoot, you can't stop aiming down sights until the bolt animation is complete. This is annoying for obvious reasons. Crouching in this game is toggle, which is already kind of annoying, but the animation is a little slow, so if you try to crouch on reaction, you'll naturally end up hitting crouch twice and stand back up. And then the last issue that I ran into 3 or 4 times while playing throughout this game that actually is game breaking is that every once in a while you clip into a wall and you just can't move, and the only thing you can do is load your last checkpoint. Again, this only happened to me around 3 or 4 times while playing throughout the game, but still, that shouldn't happen. So those are the issues that don't ruin the game. I mean, they don't make me stop playing it by any means, but they do add up over time and get a little annoying. Again, if I knew how to mod them out, I would fix the game myself. Something that is game ruining though is Operation Varsity, the second to last level. Not the level itself, but all the fucking snipers. God damn, these snipers are fucking bullshit. These snipers can shoot way faster than you, take out a full bar of your health every time they shoot you, and there's 20 of them in every direction. This is Sniper Jackal level of bullshit. The whole level would have been fine if not for the damn snipers. Whoever thought these snipers were a good idea need to have their balls ripped off and stitched to their face. Seriously, think about how fun it is to be pinned down by 20 different snipers, all of which that physically are able to shoot 10 times faster than you because your bolt action is way too slow to outshoot them. They single-handedly make this level way more frustrating and difficult than it needs to be. The difficulty in this game would have been perfectly fine if they didn't throw these cunts everywhere. This is the only level where this happens. Thank God. You can't even land before you're shot 20 million times by them. But hey, the parts where you're inside of buildings on this level are fun, and you get the C96, which you will immediately start grinding to level up to the fully automatic M712. And then stop the moment you step outside because there are 20 snipers. God damn it, why? Okay, taking it a step back, if they toned down the amount of snipers and didn't make the snipers do so much damage to you so quickly to a point where you can't even shoot back, then it would be fine. It's just they really overdid this. I don't think I could rant about it long enough, so I'm gonna stop myself there and let's move on. The only other real complaint I have about this game is that it's just a little too short. It took me about 4.5 hours to beat. Granted, I have played it before numerous times, so for a first time playing through, it'll probably take you around 5 to 5.5, which is still a little too short, and it could have had 1 or 2 more missions. Regardless, that means my only real complaints about this game is that I hate snipers on 1 mission in the game, and that it's a little too short. Again, when my only real complaint about a game is that I want more of that game, you can tell it's a good game, and I've had a lot of fun with Medal of Honor Airborne. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I would recommend anyone to play this. It's a fun game. So that begs the question, why didn't more people play it? Well, there's a few things. The first one is that this was the 11th Medal of Honor game. At this point, you had an expectation of Medal of Honor games. It was another World War II shooter, and people were very burnt out on those. Almost all Medal of Honor games played the same. It was like you were playing the same exact game. People didn't want the same Medal of Honor game again. If they had played Medal of Honor Airborne, they would have realized that it's not the same Medal of Honor game, but they should have advertised it as a reboot because that's what it was. But to be frank, I think it was a bit too late. Even if they pushed that narrative, I don't think people would have given it a chance. That's compounded by the fact that this game came out in 2007. That is an awful year to release your game. You had to compete with games like BioShock, Crysis 1, Halo 3, and the thing that really killed this game, Call of Duty 4. Call of Duty 4 started a modern military trend. People didn't want World War II shooters anymore, they wanted a modern game. If you have the option of playing Medal of Honor Airborne or Call of Duty 4 in 2007, what are you probably playing? Well, you're probably playing Call of Duty 4 or Halo 3. It's really unfortunate because, again, this is a fantastic game that more people should play. Just to remind you, World War II is not a genre, it's a setting. You can have World War II games that are very different. Call of Duty 2, Medal of Honor Airborne, and Red Orchestra 2 don't play alike at all. But that's all I really have to say. I would recommend you to play this game. It's cheap on Steam, your computer can probably run it. It's 13 years old now. This is an odd time to do a plug like this, but I started a secondary YouTube channel for footage that I have just kind of sitting there that doesn't really fit on this channel. This channel is kind of my professional channel where I post analysis videos and whatnot, but I have a lot of footage of stuff like my friend harassing people in Call of Duty by voice acting as Hank Hill.
I can't help it, he still sucks on tit and doesn't have a driver's license.
Man, I'll tell you what, these boys are slacking on their goddamn licenses. My boy Bobby's been slacking for 13 years.
Oh god, it's impeccable.
Who in the fuck is Hank Hill?
So if you want to come subscribe to that YouTube channel, there's a link down below in the video information. Go check that out. And thanks to everyone that also hung out with me over on Twitch while I streamed Medal of Honor Airborne. My Twitch is twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. If you subscribe on Twitch, you'll get to see my videos one day ahead of time. Same thing for my patrons over on patreon.com/Jarek4. Thanks to all of you that watched this video, and I will see you next time.